what makes Carnival 3 special?
So what makes the Carnival 3 special is the combination of 1997 meets 2017. So the scheme on the Carnival 3 is, for example, I turned on the radio, I heard a record, it was going whack, whack, whack. And I was like, yo, what's the name of this record? It's like, yo, it's Wyclef Jean. I said, who produced this? He sound like Flatbush Wyclef, you know? Happens to be this kid by the name of Super Mario. And, you know, the Carnival was one of those albums he grew up with. He was 12, right? So then you have another crew of producers called the Knox, you know? Then there's the Wavy Gang producers. So for me, it's the combination of what happens when the uncles meet the nephews in the studios. That's the best way to say it. It's the embracing of 2017 with the throwback of 1997. You know what I mean? That's what makes that's what makes this the Carnival 3.
Does it feel like that era is coming back around? I mean, I see a lot of, feels like renewed reverence for heroes for different generations. Do you feel that way?
Well, I think that, once again, you know, when you have a record like Wild Thoughts, that's #1, you know, and the original is my version, right? So Khalid pushed the culture forward, but he brought the Sonics back to saying, look, at the end of the day, you know, like, originality is good to do, you know what I'm saying? Everything do not have to sound the same, you know what I'm saying to you? So I do believe in that sense, like, definitely a lot of reverence is coming back. But at the same time, my daughter's generation is moving forward. So I feel you get lost when you don't learn about music, when you don't learn about culture, right? So if you're a culture bunny, that means you have to be able to talk about all the way from like Rakim, you know, all the way to Future, and basically break down like what makes Future dope, what makes Rakim dope, you know, and then break down the eras. So for me, as a culture bunny, that's what's very exciting in that sense.
You work with Jerry Wonder on this one again? He was a big part of the first one.
Yeah, no, actually, Jerry Wonder, we work, you know, they call us Sly and Robbie. So Carnival 1 in 1997 was definitely Jerry Wonder. Also Carnival 2. After that, I mean, I basically wanted to become president of Haiti. So, I mean, I basically left. When I came back, in my brain, you know, like, I did the score in my basement. So I'm like an oracle from birth, like an MPC 60, a simple drum pattern. The movie is Sleepwalker. I sample that straight from my VCR, that becomes Ready or Not. So for me, I was looking for like, what's the next? You feel me? Like, what's the next sound? Because when I came back, I heard an acoustic guitar against an EDM beat. And I was like, who's that? There's like, yo, this kid called Avicii. And I was like, yo, he's mixing it up like I did on the eclectic. I gotta go to Stockholm. So once again, it's a beautiful thing, man, when a teacher could always become a student. So with Carnival 3, like I said, what makes it special is the fact that those young kids that Wyclef inspired, those young kids that Jerry Wonder inspired, those young kids that DJ Khaled inspired, they're in the studio with the uncle. And they walk in already with a record in their head, you know? Like the Knox walked in like, yo, we're about to recreate Staying Alive, but it's gonna be illa, you know? Super Mario, yo, I got this African sample, man, I'm here, you know? So for me, the pulse of excitement has to do a lot with reinvention and constantly evolve. So you gotta keep on moving. So I'm always like, okay, if you wanna hear what I've done in the past, please listen to it, you know? But presently I've been moving in a wave, and I think finally, like, the Carnival fans caught up with this, What Happened to Love, you know what I mean? But I started it with the kids with a record called Hendrix, and the adults was not paying attention to that, and that ended up, like, streaming crazy numbers, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start with acoustic trap, and dudes was like, Clef, what is this? You reaching, what's acoustic trap? And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, right, I said, these are electronic drums, they go within a software, right? You could call them trap now. When I was coming up, it was called an 808, You know, it was an R8 kick, whatever you want to call it. Then I said, I'm going to put the acoustic guitar against it. This is a trap generation, so this is called acoustic trap. And the record was Hendrix. And on the record, I said, you know, now I got to talk to the kids because this is after Young Thugger says my name, right? Wyclef Jean. So I said, you know, gone till November, he ain't coming back. I was talking about my cousins, man, that's so crack. Caught in the trap, hit from the back, they hid the steel. Like the hour boy that's hidden on a dollar bill. Welcome to the rotten apple, city of lights. No matter how days shine, they can't steal the nights. Cause when the ghosts knock, knock, just before you guess, red dot at your chest, the eagle raid the cuckoo's nest. Better be with them artillery packs, they be jumping like Jack when they jump out the box. Rat-tat-tat-tat, that's the sound of the gat, they be flying through the air like vampire bat. Straight from the back, when they attack in the middle of the night, when you up in the trap, you keep on bucking, they bucking you back in the middle of bucking, somebody get flat. And my daughter probably like, Dad, that flow sound like Migos. And I'm like, listen, so imagine before Migos in 1994 when your dad was like, German me cool, Mr. Black me walk on street, me walk on food, say rap and then some might come to like, eat on table, sit past to, black me, brown me back, read me, chest, my me back, soul rock, reggae, check on the back of the tap at the bottom of be a trouble at top. So at the end of the day, what happens? When you're a culture bunny, when everything comes back around, you always relevant because your vibration was never based on a trend. So something that you doing 20 years ago, everybody's going to be doing now because you're already thinking of what's the next thing you're going to be doing. You dig?
People talk a lot about the convergence of MCing and singing. And a lot of times I find myself in conversations where people are trying to trace that back.
Well, the thing is, right, so to me, the singing has been going on since the first rap groups, right? So the word for it was called harmonizing. So them dudes, this is the way we harmonize, right? But the MC with the monotone always had the dominant figure, you know what I mean? So a cat will come in, do a little, and it was clearly, they was like, yo, we're gonna harmonize, you know? But it was a lot of fear to say, I'm gonna be a singer and a rapper at the same time. It just don't exist. It was like, yo, I'm gonna make people love these R&B records as much as they love these pop records, as much as they love these hip hop records, you know what I mean? So for me, like as the Fugees, we was coming in like, just wanted to be a band. Like we wanted to be looked at as a band, not like a group where people saying there's 3 MCs, but you look at us like you look at the Rolling Stones or you look at the Beatles. Like when we stand on that stage, we can pick up them instruments, we can rock like anybody. We want you to put us in the Gladiators League, you know what I mean?
I feel like there was a major leap from the first project to the second project. In terms of, obviously from a sales standpoint, I feel like you guys found your groove in a different way. You guys were all the same wavelength, I guess.
Yeah, I think, you know, once again, creativity is key. So after 1 + 1 = 2, that's addition. Then I want to learn subtraction. Then algebra, then I want to learn all parts of algebra. Calculus, then I want to learn pre-calc. That's the Fugees. Like, it's always an advancement. Like, no one's looking at, okay, there's, you know, 20 million on this scheme. Someone's thinking about how to make another 20 million albums on a scheme. I'm thinking about how to be Basquiat with the Carnival. You know, Lauren's already in her brain. Here comes the miseducation 2 years later, you know? Here comes Whitney Houston, My Love's Your Love. Carlos Santana, Maria Maria, someone please call 911, you see? So now when you look back at the catalog, right, it's so much discovery. Even like with my music that I discover, that everyday people be like, yo, I didn't know Clef wrote this, or Clef produced this, or Clef was involved with that. All of that is because of a deep, when you used to dig in the crates, we dig for discovery. And it's like, oh, what am I gonna find next? What am I gonna find next? Not what am I doing right now, you know? So in that sense, I felt like we evolved.
I feel like your storytelling is a big reason why you still remain relevant past when those projects were released. Like I listen to All the Girls all the time because I directly relate to that at 3 different decades of my life at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's very difficult for any artist to really be consistent at. You're on your 3rd decade of that. What's the secret to being able to tap into yourself and craft songs that tell stories that relate to people all over the world?
Man, I'm a big fan of country music. And like when I used, you know, and people laugh, but I'd be like, yo, if you went to Marlboro Projects when I was coming in, dudes could play polka or hitting that CeeLo, and everyone could sing. You gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You got that's that original gangster rap. So for me, country music is dope because it does the same thing hip hop does. And when you country music, it's hard for a writer to put themselves in different spaces of vulnerability. And so what country does is it tells those stories. So me, like when I listen to Johnny Cash, he tells those stories, right? When I listen to Bob Dylan, even though he's not country, but yeah, then again, he's like me, folk singer, he tells those stories. So Bob Marley tells those stories. And some of those stories got me in trouble when I was telling them, you feel me? So, I mean, it's clear, like you listening to, you know, to all the girls I ever loved before. It's a new year. I got it, and then I'm saying I'm in love with like 2 girls. Then I cheated on this girl. Then, you know, it's like to all the girls I loved before, you know. But in that time when I was going through that, right? If I didn't say that, somebody else who's going through something, they wouldn't be able to say something. You know what I'm saying to you? So for me, I feel like that's very important.
Another thing I thought that is very unique to the refugee camp, I'll say, is how presidents have interceded on y'all's behalf. You had Bill Clinton that helped you out of your situation at one point. You have George Bush who helped out John Forte. Are you guys the most well-connected, low-key group?
I mean, that's a great question. Man, all I could do is tell you the Astros definitely move within our direction. You know what I mean? I don't know. I could probably tell y'all a secret, just so y'all understand the mindset of a Fuji. So, when someone is making their first $1 million and they thinking about what car they gonna get, my first $1 million, I'm thinking about if I don't like a government, how I'm gonna use that $1 million to build up the ghetto in the community so they could rise and get a better mayor. You know what I'm saying to you? How I would just take the gangs and organize them. So that's like that thinking. So so at the end of the day, certain politicians gonna respect that, right? Because that's coming from the real high level of thinking. Because I said, I ran for president of a country. They came at me like they wanted to take my head off. Like, the amount of rumors and the lies that they try to spread on me, right? It's like I'm a Garveyite, right? And what that means, right? I follow Marcus Garvey. So, in following Marcus Garvey, young blood, I be telling y'all, Garvey got deported. And then who gave Garvey a pardon? President Obama. Like, so Garvey done gone, Obama done pardoned him after J. Edgar did his infiltration or whatever. So think about me now saying, oh, I want to run a country. Like, yo, this ain't in the cards. Now that's gangster. Because now the people who are fighting me, I can't see them. It's like I call it the invisible darts. But now I'm taking this hit for my people. So those that are in tune, they still respect that. So at the end of the day, when I'm singing, if I was president, I'll get it. The reason my daughter's best friend can sing that song, who's 13 years old, is like, yo, get your dad, I need him to sing if I was president, is because they're not looking at it like someone who's singing. They're looking at it like somebody who lived it. You know what I'm saying to you? And to me, that's the difference.
We talked about your presidential run around April Showers release.
Yep.
And I wanted to follow up with something you said in the conversation. Here's a quote, and then I'll ask the question right after it. Black people did not start the world slave trade. Black people became slaves later. Be careful. So if we come from that structure, that means there's a world agenda, which goes around. It's not a black thing. Kennedy was not part of the world agenda. Gandhi was not part of the world agenda. When you look at the world now, is the same world agenda moving in the same ways as the perspective you had at that point when you made that statement?
Well, I mean, once again, I still stick to my statement because, I still stick to this statement because at the end of the day, a lot of the predictions that I was saying on the April showers in this conversation, you could see it. like they at the end of the day. So let's go back about what we did say. At the end of the day, you have a group of people that's really been quiet. And they've been quiet because they haven't figured out a leader to identify with. Because what happens is, in the case of war, there's always a country that becomes dominant and handles everything, and handle your own country and start to occupy, right? And everybody else get low, act like they wasn't praising that man. They act like they with new leadership. So in our country, right now you have a group of people that basically rise and feel like, yo, we could just march down here and say whatever we want, whenever we want, right? So at the end of the day, it shows you the structure of who's part of the world agenda and who's not part of the world agenda. And I feel that I always want, here's a new quote for y'all. A president's term is only 4 years. And be careful of what's called the clown genius. What a clown genius does is, in the game of chess, right, I can distract you because I'm thinking of my 7th move already. So by my first 2 moves, I'm basically trying to distract you. You're so busy paying attention to my first 2 moves, I've already got you. And that's what's going on. Y'all so busy worried about what the president's doing. The president is already starting to secure his next 4 terms, 4 years. So what happens is, versus focus on the first 2 moves, y'all should be ahead with like 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, 6 means hold your senators, hold your judges, try to get better legislation, policy. Everything they done promised y'all with the communities, like in these rural areas, they're not doing any of that. So versus focusing on the president, focus on how y'all gonna change legislation and policy. And that starts with y'all community. Like y'all senators, y'all voted them in, y'all mayors, you know what I mean? So that's really the focus, really. When people be like, yo, they blaming Donald Trump for everything. And I'm like, y'all giving Donald Trump too much credit, right? Because at the end of the day, presidents gonna come and they gonna go. But we the people, y'all always gonna be here. And then after y'all next generation gonna be here, and the next generation. So we had to focus on us as a people.